As a big fan of horror movies, I am obviously very attracted to a lot of paranormal stuff, or a lot of creepy stuff that roams on the world. It could be an urban legend, or a scary story, or even something very curious that can even land on the internet. And one of those urban legend creepypastas that popularized that thing is none other than Slender Man. Slender Man, according to what I investigated, it was a creepypasta photo that some dude invented, and he created a story that is this tall man dressed up in a tuxedo and doesn't have a face, and sometimes they grow tentacles out of it. And well, it just stands there. It just stands there on the crowd, and somehow it attracts children. So technically, it's kind of like an urban legend version of a creeper. But now that I think about it, most of those urban legends, they involve creepers, stalkers, or something paranormal out of it. So yeah, it became so popular that it was the inspiration for a video game that I saw many Let's Plays plays, but I never got the courage to play it. Or maybe because I wasn't too interested. And I do remember that while I was looking for movies on my PlayStation 4, there were some people who really were eager to create a movie based on Slender Man. I think there's an independent movie that is also based on the Slender Man. But it took a while up until now that Sony decided to create a mainstream movie based on Slender Man. Many people were divided, saying that no, we shouldn't let them, no, we should let them. I'm always in the neutral side, saying that, you know what? Let's go see what it is. I know that the fat of the Slender Man is a little bit down. I mean, it was really big at the time it came out and that game came out. So technically what we have here is a movie based on a video game slash creepypasta. But nevertheless, I still was eager to watch it. Not very anticipant on watching it, but very curious. Especially considering that I was technically interested about what kind of art style they're gonna get to it. I mean, according to the trailer, it kind of felt like it want to play out like the next Ringu, or the next The Ring, or the next psychological horror that many people think that is the most effective kind of horror movie. So after watching The Meg, I decided to give myself a double feature to watch Slender Man. True story, I was kind of sleepy watching the movie. I had a little bit of a bad night, but I still have a little bit of energy to watch it. But unfortunately, the movie kind of became a little bit more of my insomnia remedy. Because Slender Man is really slow paced. It's so slow paced that there are some instances that comes up very dull. But does that mean that it is a bad movie apart from that? I'll say this. This movie is bad, but it's not too bad. Kinda in a weird mix. It's a mixed bag. But the best description I can say about the Slender Man movie is that it is a big wasted potential. The potential on this movie is totally gone. But while it is a very wasted potential film, I can give it a little bit of a recommendation to watch this movie at least once. At least for curiosity's sakes. If you're not interested, fine. It's not something that you urgently need to see it. And it is an interesting movie that you can study what are some good aspects and bad aspects of this movie. You can debate where it fails and where it succeeds. And I'll get to that, by the way. But I also want to give you a warning that the movie has an abusive 20 seconds in the beginning that is 1 second shot of many images. And while I'm not a very photosensitive guy, it's totally it totally disturbs your eyes. And so if you're photosensitive, don't watch this movie, especially during the beginning, because my God, this is, I don't know if they should be allowed to do that. It's so annoying. It kind of hurts your eyes, and I think that I'm beginning to feel a little bit of the effects of that. I mean, I can do it at least for 5 or 4 seconds, but that one kind of lasts like 10 seconds, and my, jeez. I'm still talking about my introduction of the Slender Man movie, and you might be wondering what the story is about. Well, the story is typically the same trope that you see in many of those urban legend films. The movie starts out with 4 girls who are friends. One of the main protagonists is none other than Joey King, the girl who was in that lovely disastrous movie Wish Upon. But anyway, these 4 girls are friends. They chat themselves in social media here and there. They go into the slumber party until one of them goes on by saying, "Hey, have you heard about the Slender Man? Hey, are we on the reality that where Slender Man exists on the internet? No, we're in the same reality that that Slender Man is a thing." So apparently Slender Man has this website which is kind of like a video, and it is the Ring video. You watch the video, and apparently the Slender Man is this being that follows you around and takes your, apparently according to the legend, it takes your most precious things. And after a week later, after watching that video, eerie things begin to happen. The girls kind of begin to have premonitions and visions and nightmares about the Slender Man, and then little by little, starting with the blonde girl, they disappear. She disappears. Everyone's looking for her. Nobody knows, and apparently then turns into a mystery. Find out where she is. Then find out that the Slender Man apparently took her, and then they begin to build up a little bit the mythology of the Slender Man. Some of them a little bit faithful to the source material, like for example saying that you must not watch the Slender Man directly because it'll drive you insane. But unfortunately, they don't hold up to that thing too much, because there are scenes in which how can I explain it without going too far on watching the movie without being too spoilery? But the thing is that they kind of break out that rule, and this kind of comes up with one of the biggest problems that this movie has. The story and the rules comes up a little bit too inconsistent. They kind of break out the rules only when it's convenient. But at least they don't break it too much. But if you pay attention too much, it comes up as a little bit distracting. Alright. You know, I think this is one of the disadvantages of making this vlog without a script and going autopilot, is that I don't organize a little bit too much on what to talk and what order to talk about. So, if for the case of Slender Man, how about if I go for some pros and some cons? Let's talk the little bit of pros that this movie has. First of all, the photography art is magnificent. How the ambience, how the environment works, how they deal with the photography, the cinematography, the shots. That looks artsy and in a way brilliant. Some shots can be a little bit dark, and there are some moments in which some of the shots comes up as being clever, one of my favorite shots probably is when three of the girls are watching the video, and in their back you can see kind of like this shadow of the Slender Man kind of like watching them. Nothing happens, but still I can relate to that. Oh, and by the way, did I mention that some of the photos that they took as a footage are probably stock footage slash stock photos that you can find on the internet on the Slender Man? Because I swear that they also has the Slender Man gimmick that you have. There are drawings of the Slender Man. Children's drawing, kind of like the video game in which well, basically the video game is just finding 8 drawings of the Slender Man before he catches you, and some of them I think I saw them on the internet. I don't know if Sony had the permission to use those, but you know what? I'll let it slide. Another thing that I kind of like about the movie is a little bit the sound effects. Some of the sound effects, they sound really, really good. Although apparently they decided to link the Slender Man with forests and trees, and every time there is this presence of the Slender Man, you can hear kind of like the creaking of the trees or something like that, and in parts it sounds creepy. Creepy enough to keep you feel attentive to the film. And now I think it is time to go for what are the cons of this movie, because some of the cons of the movie are unfortunately what makes a good movie. First off, I said before, the story is probably what fails the most. It doesn't feel too consistent, and it kind of plays out in which it kind of just can't make up its mind which character should we follow. Sometimes we follow Joy King, and then we follow the other girl, a blonde girl who I don't remember the name or the actress, but technically it is shown that she is technically a paranormal freak who likes to who she's the one who told the girls about Slender Man and all this stuff. And apparently there's also this thing about Joy King being a track and field champion, but it doesn't go anywhere. And apparently they also wanted to build up that she has a good relationship with her sister. And honestly, I also think that this tropey thing about Slender Man just wanting to get your most precious object or something like that, I couldn't find it say that it's very cliche, because again, I'm a little bit tolerant to cliches and tropes. I will say that is technically a little bit of a weak plot device, especially when it comes to the end. I really wanted to like some elements of the movie, like for example they wanted to link up that when they're investigating the missing girl, they apparently found out a way to get in contact with some person in the chat who was also involved in the Slender Man, and they went for answers. But again, this thing is kind of treated just as a plot device. And now that I think of it, this is the problem that this movie has. That characters are just so there out of convenience that, in a way, we just kind of don't care. At least you're lucky that the characters are not unlikable. And that will be the worst case scenario. That the character will be so whiny or so annoying or something like that. They're just there to be wood. They're just there to be wood. Or sometimes you see them going crazy or doing seem vicious. Now that I kind of begin to remember something about this movie, that one of the biggest gimmicks that this movie has is that while they have some great photography scenery, sometimes they come to us as being so laughably, so unintentionally laughable. Because there were some, like I said, there were some moments that they wanted to imitate the imagery that The Ring did on previous film. Doesn't matter, the English version or the Japanese version. And I find it admirable in a way. And not many times you're gonna see some imagery that you probably might find by some sick freak that made it on the dark web. I admire this kind of thing. And sometimes when you see some unsettling images of, bodies moving like this, it depends on how the mood you are. It's either creepy or laughable. There is a scene that it almost made me laugh. The scene is that I think it was the Joy King character. She had a boyfriend, and yeah, the boyfriend also kind of useless, but it's there. That they kiss, they make up, and she turns around for a while, and then when she begins to see she turns around again to see her boyfriend. He's just on top of her, and he just goes, yeah, he had the creepy imagery, but for some reason in my head, turns into pervert mode, and I was thinking that, man, this guy is having the best sex in his life. I think it is time for me to talk about the ending, because this is something that I want to burst out. So I advise you to skip to a little bit the ending if you don't want to hear me out or you're interested enough. So here goes. Apparently the movie tries to make us feel bad for the little sister of Joy King, because the other girl apparently wanted to sacrifice her in order to get rid of that Slender Man curse or something like that. And so see, there's the problem. It's never too specific of saying that how we're gonna get rid of the curse, and it's not detailed well enough. And while Joy King finds out that her friend, the remaining friend, she lured her sister to be part of the Slender Man ritual and all this stuff. She made her watch the video, and made her give up her most precious thing. Oh, and I wanted to tell you that when it's about precious things, it's usually material stuff. And so anyway, the thing is that then the little sister beginning to have all those visions. She even goes to the hospital, and apparently we get all this well, I will say this YouTube creepypasta imagery that we get to see. And when Joy King confronts her friend, she kind of realized that she was out, and she was in it almost the whole thing. She was, I don't know, I didn't understand. I was kind of sleepy. I think she was kind of like a patient. She was a patient. She was also the one who, in the other side of that chat thing, and they confront her, but unfortunately Slender Man came, and oh yeah, I almost forgot. There are a few chase scenes, and the chase scenes are, I don't know if I want to be enthralled or not, but it's mostly just watching the smartphone, and because apparently the vision of the Slender Man is kind of like webcam vision, in which he can go through walls and other stuff. And I don't know why they bother trying to close the door when he can easily go through with it. But yeah, the Slender Man eventually catch up all the girls, except for, of course, Joy King is kind of like the remaining one. And because she apparently has this big love to her sister that she was shoehorned in, she goes to the forest. She goes to the Slender Man which is a kind of poor Slender Man CGI. You almost had it. You almost had to having a Slender Man look good, but no. Now he looked like this CGI Hitman from that video game Hitman, but without a face. And she just stands there and he's like, I want you to leave my sister. Take me. And Slender Man is like, okay. And he goes with the tentacle thing, and I don't know why she decides to run away. Weren't you sacrificing yourself to the Slender Man while you're running? But yeah, she technically gets grabbed by the trees, and apparently, I don't know, she gets grabbed. Apparently Slender Man is kind of like the Halloween tree combined with the rapist tree from Evil Dead, because they grab her and she gets inside the tree and all this stuff, and apparently that's solution enough to save the little sister, who she just goes, no, my sister, no. And yeah, we got a close-up saying that my sister, in which my sister and her friends, they just went to places where they shouldn't go. They, in a way, this is the moment where I wanted to punch someone, because the closing narration apparently is a middle finger to curiosity, because it apparently begins to say that we should not meddle with things that we don't know, and they just got what they just had this comeuppance because they were too curious on the urban legends of Slender Man and all this stuff. I like studying paranormal. It's kind of like a hobby that I like. Yeah, I know it's Lovecraftian to be afraid of the unknown. I mean, that's the beauty of horror. But I didn't think that this was that closing narration was kind of enough. If the movie just could have just closed with just her screaming and all this stuff, that's it. They shouldn't have added too much on that ending. But you know what? After so much atmosphere and then also some cheap jump scares, most notably jump scare that has to do with the librarian. But just in case, I counted. There are 3 or 4 fake jump scares that comes annoying. So in the end, I will say that Slender Man is bad. It's bad, but not too bad. I'm repeating what I said on the from the beginning, but yeah, you know what? It's technically a little bit of a rental. Just once is enough if you're curious enough. You're gonna easily pinpoint which are the good things and the bad things about this movie. It's not the worst of the year, but it's also not the best of the year. It's technically bad, and sometimes it gets dull. If you want a little bit of a fun summer blockbuster movie, I don't think that Slender Man is the best choice. I mean, I can easily say that The Meg was a better movie than Slender Man. Slender Man was just meh. It's a meh movie that take it or leave it. It has an ambition that it felt a little bit too flat. I don't know if it has to do with Sony interfering with some creative things. But my point is that if you want to go to a psychological horror or imagery horror or something like that, I think you should put a little bit more effort on creating something that it could be enjoyable or memorable. And Slender Man, it kind of just stops. It stops right halfway and just decided to move on, because and it gave us a little bit of a middle of the road disappointing film. But still, I kind of encourage many filmmakers that we do need a little bit more of movies based on creepypastas. Or better yet, make a whole creepypasta film.